The Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings 2021 AT&T Byron Nelson DraftKings picks and previews, sponsored by, get this, DraftKings. So we're going to jump right into it. But first, I do need to let you know all the final picks, all the weather report, and extra stats are going to be in the Mayo Media newsletter on Wednesday evening. There might even be a special newsletter coming out on Tuesday afternoon as well as a preamble. Then we'll have the final picks on Wednesday evening. So go sub to that in the description of the video and podcast. Down there as well, you'll find the Listeners League link. 3,000 spots this week. It's already 66% full. $15 to play. 3 max entry. No rake. The best tournament you can play in on DraftKings. We're going to try to blow this out for the PGA Championship as well. So once we start rolling out content for that, we will have a gigantic Listeners League available for everyone. So get your teams in now before it ends up completely full. Plus, fantasynational.com/Mayo gets you 20% off all the tools, all the stats, simulations, the lineup generator, the most customizable stat database on the planet. fantasynational.com/Mayo gets you 20% off. If you get the weekly on Wednesday, you get Wednesday to Wednesday. So you get both the Byron Nelson and the PGA Championship, at least the lead in to the tournaments, plus all the live stats for the Byron Nelson. So you might as well double dip if you're thinking about becoming a first-time member at fantasynational.com. In the newsletter, I'll have my cheat sheet link as well. You can find it on DK Playbook along with my article. There's the shows from the past week. But joining me right now from DK Live, it is DJ Jazzy Geoff Ulrich. What's going on?
Not too much, man. Excited for the PGA Championship coming up. Get a little action in here on the Byron Nelson new course coming up. Seems a little more interesting than Trinity Forest, which was just like one big open flat space. So I'm doing good, man.
Well, on yesterday's show, I talked about Dustin Johnson, how I want to play Dustin Johnson. Then I was thinking about doubling Dustin Johnson together with now and the PGA Championship to really boost up the odds. Then all of a sudden, like 5 minutes after I post the show, he withdraws from the tournament. So thanks, DJ, for that. So he has a knee injury, so he can't play in the Byron Nelson. But over the weekend, he's doing backflips off a yacht. So maybe he hurt himself doing the backflips. I don't know. But it just seems like he might be putting together a bit more effort into Kiowa, Iowa, in his home state. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we had similar Mondays because I think I spent a good hour on a show talking about how I thought Dustin Johnson was the preferred pay-up option for me and would have been a nice pick. He typically plays well the week before majors, and then basically the show ended and he withdrew. So that was fun as well for me. But no, I agree. I don't think there's anything wrong with Dustin Johnson. I just probably just figures he feels comfortable in his practice, if anything. And like you said, it's his home state. I think he's going to be a really interesting play next week. I'm not sure if I'm going to bet him at whatever price he'll be at, but yeah, absolutely. I was bullish on him here and probably be bullish on him for next week too.
I was thinking about betting him at the PGA Championship at 12-1. Hopefully the news about this knee injury can push him down to like 14 or 16-1 because then all of a sudden it's a bit more enticing.
It's not going to make him shorter, right? I mean, I think if anything, it'll push, especially if like Bryson or Rahm has a big week here. It should push him up towards 15-1. I think absolutely. I mean, I don't think you'll get anything crazy like 18-1, but books kind of when they first put out odds on majors, you can see some crazy numbers first. So definitely wait on DJ. I think you get a better number than 12.
Well, and DJ withdrawing in this field, when we get to the pricing in a second, that it was a huge chasm between the haves and have-nots in this field. There was like a very clear line of, oh, these are the really good players. And then there's just absolutely everyone else in this tournament, mix and match them however you want. And now without DJ, it's really going to concentrate ownership on the top, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is you nailed it. Like it's a very top heavy field, right? Like you've got a lot of big names here, but it drops off real quick, as we'll see, especially like once you get to the low AK range. So yeah, it's just going to make, unfortunately for ownership, there's a couple players I think everyone will like. It's just going to be, they're going to be like 30%, 25% owned, all of them, which is, not that bad, I guess. It's not like we're heading into like, Christian McCaffrey, 60% territory or something when he's 9K, but it is going to be concentrated on a few guys for sure that are, both elite players and appropriately priced. So
TPC Craig Ranch, the first of the next 5 years for the Byron Nelson, being the host course, 7,468 yards, par 72. Sung Kang is actually the defending champion from Trinity Forest 2 years ago. New course, wouldn't worry too much about that. I guess the other thing too, it's a 156-man field, so it's going to be pretty dicey to get all your players through the cut line. We've seen a couple of these completely full fields so far over the past few weeks, and we've seen these 6 of 6 percentage hover around 5%, maybe less than 5%. It just takes one or two guys inside the top 10 of ownership to really cripple everyone's lineup. So the popular sleeper of the week, he misses. All of a sudden, 5 of 6 is looking really good. A viewer of the show actually came second in the $33 single entry last week with a 5 of 6. So it's doable if you keep the 6 of 6 percentages down to around like 3, 4, 5%. Then a 5 of 6 can have a shot in either a 3 max or a single entry at that point if you just nail the rest of your lineup. You're not dead like you are in the $5 or even the $15, some of the larger GPPs on DraftKings. But when you look at this course, what type of skill set are you looking for? Because I'm thinking like bombers, and if it's not bombers, it's shorter hitters with great long irons, and you got to be able to make some putts.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like a good all-around test. I mean, it's a Tom Weiskopf design, 2004. We've seen in competition, 2012 hosted the Korn Ferry Tour Championship. But you look at the comparable Weiskopf designs on tour, and I think the biggest one is TPC Scottsdale. It's another TPC course. And you look at the layout too. They're both very similar yardages, but Craig Ranch is a 72. Obviously Scottsdale is a 71, but you look at the layout, they both have attackable par 5s. They have some long, tough par 4s. And they have some drivable par 4s as well. You look at, I think it's the 6th or 5th hole here at Craig Ranch. It actually looks very similar to the 17th, the drivable par 4 there. It just doesn't have water on it, but the layout looks very similar. So I think TPC Scottsdale is a very good comparison. And again, you mentioned bombers there. You got to be good off the tee. But you really have to have a good all-around game. Like we see all styles compete at TPC Scottsdale. So I think this is really more of an all-around test. I think it's going to be a good event, like a good venue. I don't think you're going to see a crazy birdie fest, but the scoring's going to be out there. It's a par 72, like I said. So there's an extra par 5 in play. That could drive the scoring to 20 under if the wind stays down. But yeah, I think focusing on solid hitting off the tee, like doesn't have to be the craziest bomber in the world, but good solid off the tee stats. And then, like you said, you're going to have to sink some putts. You're going to have to get your scoring clubs. So one of those things, I wouldn't overly emphasize any one thing, but I just want a guy who's good all around form and hasn't been ice cold with the putter lately.
So looking at that right now, then over their past 12 rounds played at TPC Scottsdale, the top 10 players in the field in terms of tee to green: Hideki, Rahm, Sergio Spieth, Nasty Nate Lashley, Johnny Vegas, Cooch, Ortiz, KH Lee, and John send in the birdies. It's been a while since he's been sending in that many birdies, but apparently he's over his past. I mean, those 12 rounds could be from like 8 years ago, for all I know, with John Senden in Phoenix. But those are the top guys that you'd be looking at right now. So let's jump in to the very top of the pricing board. Obviously, Dustin Johnson was the most expensive player. He was 10,000 or 11,400. I suppose he still is 11,400. I would recommend not taking him. That's Pat's lock of the week. So that leaves Bryson as the highest price player at 11.2, then Rahm at 11. You got Spieth, Hideki, and Berger 10.7, 10.3, and 10.1. Who's the guy do you think no one's going to play here? Because Jeff and I talked about it a little bit on Monday's show, but it feels like the interest in Hideki is way down.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You know, people love to just play narratives like it's not even narratives. It's just like biases, like almost like, you know, old wives' tales in DFS golf. And one of the old wives' tales is, a guy is going to be rusty coming back after he won a major. There's going to be a major hangover. There's no way he can play well after winning a major and beating the most elite players in the world. So I think you're going to get that with Hideki this week. He's 10-3. He's also, you know, a little bit more expensive than Berger and Koepka and Zalatoris and all the kind of hot names under there. And you also don't have to do much to get up to Jordan Spieth, who I think people have gone back to trusting. So I think Spieth will definitely get some play. And, you know, I think if Dustin had been in this field, maybe you see Bryson's ownership had dipped a bit, but I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. Bryson is just a prolific DraftKings scorer. Obviously, he just rewarded the DFS community, you know, grinded through the cut, flew all the way back from Dallas, finished T9. You know, he's back in the good graces after that kind of performance. So I think that Matsuyama, of the top, you know, 6-7 players, he should garner the lowest ownership. I don't think Berger will be super highly owned either, but he's definitely going to be more highly owned than Matsuyama, in my opinion, just because of the savings you're getting. So if I had to rank those guys in terms of ownership, Matsuyama would be coming in with the lowest.
That's what Fantasy National is spitting out right now. Obviously, it's very early on a Tuesday, so you need to give this time for ownership to actually pile up, people to go generate lineups to actually get a more realistic idea of what ownership is looking at like. But it seems like Hideki is the only player basically above $9,000. I guess we include Sergio, he's in the single digits, Hideki's in the single digits, and Bryson and Spieth kind of trump everyone else. So it's Rahm for me. Not that he's low owned by any means. He'll be like 15, 16%. But I do think that I like him the best skill-wise at this course. I like that we're back on bent grass. Even looking at his numbers last week from Quail Hollow, like they weren't bad. He just couldn't chip or putt, which is atypical for Jon Rahm, but the driving was fine. It wasn't elite. The irons were fine. They were actually better than the field. So if he can just get back to driving the ball well and striking the ball well with his irons, and let the chipping and putting come along with it. So I think I like Rahm by far the best of the. I mean, it's hard to say I like him that much more than Bryson, but I like the price discount, and I think I just like his skill set at this course a little bit more than Spieth, where Spieth's gonna have to chip in a bunch of times. He's gonna have to make a couple 40-foot bombs, which he can do. I just feel like Rahm's path to winning this is much easier.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I mean, Jon Rahm had a 76 and then he came back and shot a 70. So, I mean, it's not like he had two disastrous rounds. He looked fine. He just had a bad Monday or a bad Thursday, excuse me, on the greens and stuff like that. So I agree. I mean, if we talked about TPC Scottsdale as a comparison, Rahm's kind of been very, very consistent on that layout. I would give him the slight edge over Bryson as well if I had to choose. Look, Bryson gained 7 strokes on the greens last week. There's no guarantee that just carries over here. I think he lost like 5 strokes with his irons. So Bryson's week was very weird, and he's got to get those irons going again. We've seen him just kind of make cuts and kind of skimmy along without doing much with his irons for a while. So there's no guarantee those clubs just bounce back for him. I'd feel more confident in a Rahm bounce back for sure. I think Spieth is a little bit overvalued to your point. If the bombs don't drop, I mean, is he really that much better of a play than Hideki? They both have really good start to the seasons. Obviously, Spieth a few more top end plays, but if the putter cools off a little bit here, easily could just end up with a made cut. He's never finished top 20 at the Byron Nelson either. Doesn't really like these local events. Doesn't seem to gel with his mojo very well. So I like Matsuyama and I like Berger a lot more than Spieth. Again, if I'm ranking those 3 in terms of who I want to play, I would go Berger, Matsuyama, Spieth.
Berger, Matsuyama, Spieth. Okay. So it's going to be Rahm for me, and I think it would be Berger, then Matsuyama. Even though Berger is Anderkirch, though, that's the one thing. I'm just trying to think, because I think the move is, we're going to get to Zalatoris in a second. I love Zalatoris. I'm not alone in that. But I think the move is to try to jam at least 2 of these guys into a lineup this week.
Yeah.
3 if you can get away with
I agree. I think you'll be super unique if you do that. I think most people won't want to roster a ton of players under 7K. I was going to say, I was only ranking the guys in the 10K. I would still put Rahm in front of Berger, again. But as far as the guys in the 10K, I like Berger the most. Coming off a great week at the RBC Heritage, gained a bunch of strokes ball striking. The dude just does not lose strokes off the tee ever. Like he's just an auto, like +2 strokes off the tee. Great record at TPC Scottsdale as well. Again, I'm going to hammer that comparison down. I think it's a good one. So I definitely like Berger. I don't think he'll be crazily owned either, but I agree. Rahm out of the top 6 for me, or top 5 now. I would put as number 1.
So the way I'm going to construct my lineups, Rahm and Berger with an emphasis on Rahm, because I like Zalatoris a little bit more than I like Berger because of the price point, and maybe add some Hideki in there. And then, Jordan Spieth is going to go out and win with Hideki Matsuyama. That's going to be the unique lineup that you need. Then all is said and done. If you do like the Phoenix, then you got to love Hideki at this spot, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's part of the appeal too, right? I think this is a good spot for Hideki to come back onto the schedule. I have no idea what Hideki's been up to or anything. I don't know if anyone does, because it's not like he's on Instagram or anything much, but or maybe he is and I just don't follow him. But I think it's fine. Hideki is a guy who grinds a lot. I don't think he's just going to come back in and take like a year off like Danny Willett did or anything like that. So I'm not too afraid of the spot, to be honest. I think he's got another major coming up. I think you'll see a decent week from Hideki. I think it's a good setup for him, like I said.
He's played really well in Texas over the years as well. Even when he was going through his slump a little bit, like the ball striking the week before the Masters at Valero, very good. I think he was second in Houston during the swing season. So,
oh, that's right. Yeah, last fall. Yep.
And of course, like you said, your Phoenix crossover, Hideki, two-time winner in Phoenix. So pretty good on his part. Let's talk 9K guys. Zalatoris is at the top with Brooks Koepka, 9.9 and 9.7. You got Fitz, Chef, Sammy Burns, Mark Leishman, Ryan Palmer, and Sergio Garcia at $9,000. This is a tricky range because I think you could completely justify playing 3 guys and starting your lineup with the 9K guys. There's some decent names in here for sure. I said I like Zalatoris the most, but looking at the early ownership, it doesn't seem like the bottom end is really garnering much. Like Leishman's coming in super low owned, Palmer's going to be super chalk, but then you have Sergio right below him at like 1/3 the ownership early on, obviously. But I thought that was kind of strange to see Sergio, just no one wants a piece of him, but everyone wants to play Ryan Palmer. And it's not necessarily usually the opposite, but I really like Ryan Palmer. I like him at this course. He's already talked about how he's going to play here. But if you're giving me a 1/3 discount on both Leishman and Sergio versus Ryan Palmer, probably end up taking it.
Yeah, I'll probably get sucked into something like that as well. I mean, Sergio obviously coming off 2 bad starts in a row, probably just lost some sentiment. But I mean, he's the guy who's won this event, I think twice now, definitely won back in 2016, I think it was. But he likes Texas. Like he's played really well in Texas over his career as well. I mean, just to your point, I'm taking Sergio over Ryan Palmer pretty much every time if you're getting like half the ownership there, even if I'm getting equal ownership. So, I mean, it's not really even a decision for me. I won't be targeting Ryan Palmer, but I do understand why people want to play him. I mean, Burns at 93 looks well overpriced, and he did gain 9 strokes putting at the Valspar. Is that gonna translate to success on bent grass greens? Now, I understand that argument. I mean, I think Sam Burns has a ton of upside, but I understand why people will be off him here. I'd probably be more apt to just take another shot with Burns, though, than Leishman. I mean, I think Leishman can be a little bit all over the place. But to your point, I mean, I'm probably going to be looking for, if you're doing GPP leverage or want some leverage, Sergio and Jason Day there under Ryan Palmer. That's probably where I'll lean rather than going up and paying for Burns or Leishman. Now, Burns and Leishman probably been playing better than those guys, but take a little bit of a discount, and I think you may even get lower ownership. So I agree. Like, people are going to be stacking people in this 9K range, and it's going to start with, either Scheffler and Zalatoris, Fitzpatrick and Scheffler, maybe even like Koepka and Scheffler or something like that. But there's going to be a ton of lineups with those like 4 combos this week. So very popular way to build. And I think an easy way to differentiate is either go 3 guys and use one of the low owned plays that we threw out there as your 3rd guy, or just bypass one of the really popular guys.
I could see myself, depending on, we're going to talk about Brooks in a second, but Zalatoris at 9.7 might just be the only guy in the 9s that I use. Just call it quits there, because I think that, I mean, I just have my gut says Will Zalatoris. The stats also point to Will Zalatoris. He had 1 bad event. Now all of a sudden, he's not great. No, he's 22-1 to win this event. He's high priced. This tournament seems, at least the layout would fit him perfectly. And it just seems like he's sort of once you get to like Scheffler and Fitzpatrick, I think that there's a line after Fitzpatrick and Scheffler, like from Burns, and Burns might be a little bit overvalued coming off the win, but you have like Leishman, Palmer, Sergio, Day, Peters, like all those guys, they're kind of in a bucket behind the rest of everyone else. Like Zalatoris, Fitzpatrick, and Scheffler, I think are kind of on an island here, and you can't obviously play everyone. I like Zalatoris the best, but if you didn't want to play the low 9s or high 8s, I completely understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can start with just taking one of those guys. To your point, if you're using Zalatoris, you can go up and grab like a Rom to go with them. I think that'll give you way better chance of being like duplicated, or just a lesser owned lineup than if you're doing 2 or 3 guys from the 9K range. So there is a big drop off, and it may not even be in terms of like upside or top end talent. Starting at Sam Burns, but just in terms of consistency, like we see Sam Burns, he has a really big week and then he goes 30 or he'll drop in a couple missed cuts. Same with Sergio. So the consistency with guys like Fitzpatrick, Scheffler, it's just unmatched in as soon as you go below them. So it's a really big week where there's like obvious tiers almost of players here. And the first tier, in my opinion, where you get the biggest drop off is after Scheffler. So something to keep in mind. You can definitely, I feel like, bypass a lot of these guys. But if you want to pick and choose out of this range too, like, and I'm talking like the sub Scheffler range, I mean, you're going to get some really low ownership on some guys who can pop. I mean, we saw Burns pop, Sergio can pop, and go down to a guy like Peters as well, who I like. So the interesting range, but not necessarily one you have to go crazy with either.
What are you doing with Brooks? Because he's pretty highly priced, which I guess makes a ton of sense. Even in the betting market, he's a bit behind the tier of the elites, but at the same time, at 23-1 on DraftKings Sportsbook, you're not getting a huge discount on Brooks at the same time. He loves playing in Texas. Obviously, he's won twice in Phoenix. His game would seemingly fit this course perfectly. Slowish greens from what it looks like as well, and maybe that can help out his putting a little bit, but do you take the chance at 9,900 that he's going to be fully healthy? Because the way that I see the ownership breaking down now, it's not like you're getting an ownership discount. He's not super highly owned, but it's not like he's, Lee Westwood at 1% at the same time. He's going to be like 11, 12%. So it'd be one thing if he was a 2% owned play, you play him in 2 of 20 lineups, be on your way. But now, I mean, to get overweight on the field, you're going to have to commit a certain allocation of your both DraftKings salary and DraftKings lineups to playing Brooks Koepka. And I just don't know where he's at. At the Masters, it made more sense to me, although he ended up missing the cut. I don't know why I played him on DraftKings. The bet was one thing. Should not have played him on DraftKings. Would have won money, like a decent amount of money, if I just didn't play Brooks. Just stupid. Stupid, Pat. Could have played Hideki for like the same price. Either way, are you playing him?
I mean, I haven't really made up my mind on Brooks Koepka, but I don't think so. I don't think that enough has changed. I mean, we've seen 4 weeks. He hasn't had a competitive game in there. Is the knee like 100%? We haven't really seen that much. And to your point, like, I want to play Scheffler from this range. So all of a sudden, already I've committed myself to playing at least one player, and I probably would like to also. I like Zalatoris, so just like you. I mean, I look at those two players. They're set up very well here. Scheffler had a top 10 at TPC Scottsdale earlier in the year. He's been very consistent with across the board. There's no reason for me not to like him here. So, $600, $500 less than Brooks Koepka. I'm not just going to go off Scheffler and this speaks to your Masters point, just because I might get a little bit of lower ownership on him here, because there's really not, like, you're not getting Brooks at 3%. So I think I'm probably going to be out on him. It's always a little bit scary to say that about Brooks Koepka, especially when it's under 10K, but I just don't really feel the need here. I think his upside is probably also capped. I mean, I don't think he's going to come in off a 4-week rest with a knee that's probably still not 100% and just win. I know he's capable, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm gonna say no. I'm pretty much just going to be out. I want to get exposure to Zalatoris and Scheffler a lot, and I do, like I said, I do like a couple plays in that high 8K range where I'll pick up some really low ownership. I'd feel better about targeting guys there than I would about targeting a slightly lower owned Brooks Koepka this week.
So in the 8K range, I'm just going to guess you're playing Jason Day.
I am. I will. I mean, at the very least, I've bet Jason Day at 55-1. It's basically the same odds we've been getting on him in the majors. As far as DraftKings play, he's projecting 5-7% ownership ranges from a lot of the spots I've seen. You're not going to have to go crazy here, which is what I like. If you're 3-max guy, you put him in 1. If you're making 5 or 10 lineups, you put him in 1. You're overweight the field, right? So I'm not purporting like, this is Jason Day's week, get him in all your lineups, but I like the fact that everyone's out on him now. 2 missed cuts. I haven't really seen anything crazy bad from him from a ball striking perspective. His putter just hasn't popped. Bryson was way worse ball striking than him last week. He just gained 7 strokes on the green. It'll switch for Jason Day at one point. He'll pop up again. Again, I'm not suggesting he wins, although I know I've dropped a few hints on Twitter that like there's a trend there with Rory winning the at the first spot he ever won at, and now Jason Day is returning to the first event he's ever won. But more just for jokes, I think Jason Day is a good low and pick this week. Again, I like it when everyone's out on Jason Day rather than when everyone piles in on him on chalk. So we just need that putter to pop. His ball striking has actually been fairly consistent. I think he's gained strokes off tee in like 8 starts or something now. So I am in as a low and play there. That's probably the guy I'll target the most, but I really do like Thomas Pieters this week as well. Not sure why more people aren't on him. He's been competitive in pretty much every start he's had on the PGA this year.
I mean, he played in two. He played in Punta Cana, and he played the Puerto Rico Open.
Yeah, quality. I mean, basically what this event is, just without Bryson and Rahm.
Oh, give me a break. He was the
We've
betting
seen the guys under 8K,
he
Pat.
was the betting favorite in that field. He's like 80-1 this week.
There you go, 80-1. I mean, who would you rather bet, Thomas Peters or Ryan Palmer?
Thomas Peters.
Thomas Peters at 80-1 or Ryan Palmer at 40-1?
I'd rather bet Thomas Peters. I'm not killing you about Thomas Peters, but this field is significantly better.
Okay, it is. You're right. I mean, I'm joking around a little bit, but it's a better field. But I mean, I think Peters is a quality player. I mean, he was close in those events. He was up there. He does Thomas Peter things. So we just have to avoid the quad bogey, and we'll be fine.
I'm looking at the chalk from this range. It looks like Woo is going to be pretty chalky. So is, on Fantasy National members love Thomas Peters. So I'm in on Thomas Peters as well. Then you have Luke List and Aaron Wise, both like 12%, 15%. And then Charles at above 10%. Keith Mitchell at close to 15%. That leaves your options of Day in single digits, Harris English below 5%, Lee Westwood below like 2%, and then Matt Kuchar below 5%. I kind of like Cooch.
Dude, I mean, if List and Wise and
like
Schwartzel are all going over 10% at over 8K in price, yeah, I'll just take whoever is lower owned. Thanks. I mean, I agree. I'll play some. I might even play Westwood in this range or something and throw him in a lineup. I mean, I'll just take the ownership dips. This is. I mean, Luke List was, what was he last week? Like 7K.
He had a good week, but I mean, he made a lot.
Absolutely. I get it. But
he made a lot of putts last week. I don't know if that's going to continue.
None of these guys are exactly known for their consistency, is my point. I mean, high-end players, great ball striker. Aaron Wise is super talented. Lord knows I've bet Aaron Wise enough, but now he's 8,300 after being like 68 or 7K for like 2 months. No thanks. I'm not going to eat the Aaron Wise or Luke List chalk here. Give me a little bit of low and Cooch if he's really low. And Keith Mitchell, I the same thing. I mean, we're back on Bentgrass here, so I can just cross Keith Mitchell off this week. I think this low 8K range, Kuchar is the most interesting for me. Maybe I'll dip my toes into Schwartzel range. He really is playing well.
Oh, come on. Are you really going to pay for Charles? The guy who's been $6,200 all year. Now it's like, oh, he's 81. Let's play some Chuck Schwartzel.
I said maybe, but I think, honestly, the best way to approach his range is just like cross it off and start at Taylor Gooch at 7,900. I really don't want to play anyone from this range, if I'm being honest. Schwartzel, maybe he's going to suck me in because of how consistent he's been, but I don't even know if I want to play Kuchar, even if he's only like 5%. But I think Kuchar has the most interest from me from just like a GPP perspective. That would be the guy. Otherwise, everyone else here, I'm absolutely fine just putting an X through.
Yeah, I mean, Schwartzel's irons have been reinvigorated. And for whatever reason, he couldn't make any putts last week at Quail Hollow. Couldn't make any putts at the Masters either. And that's a place where he historically had made a ton of putts. And still, he's made the cut in like 4 straight events. I get that he's playing a lot better. It's just very jarring to see him at this price point. And people are like, oh, sign me up at that price point. That's great. I just don't see a big difference between List and Keith Mitchell and Aaron Wise. And I'm just going to scroll down $1,000 and I don't know, like Sam Ryder and Harry Higgs. And I love Wyndham Clark every single week. He makes the cut almost every single week. Like, why not just play those guys instead and try to jam in some of the better players in the nines?
That's what we're talking about. The drop off this week is just so ridiculous. I mean, I think you go under Peters and it's like, all these guys in the 8K range were basically 68, 7K last week. And now you look at the guys who are down there and I mean, they don't even look that bad, right? I mean, Wyndham Clark's making cuts. KH Lee is making cuts. And again, another guy who played really well, TPC Scottsdale. Piercy played well last week. I mean, these are just like interchangeable players. And the guys who all played well last week got massive bumps for some reason. You just usually don't see. We're used to seeing players get bumps, but like most of these guys I thought would have been like 77, 7,500, not 8,400 and 8,200. So something to consider. And again, it's not like these guys are all getting ignored. People are going back to them. So even me might go back to Schwartzel. So I agree. This is why I like the play of getting 2 guys like a Zalatoris and a Romstack, like you mentioned, and then just taking the discount on the 7K players. Cause I don't think there's much difference this week between them and the low 8K range.
Could you get behind Champ at all?
Champ is a guy. I generally just want to play when he's like 7K and no one's on him, but he's played okay the last 2 times out. He's such a good scorer. Like, I would much rather play him than pretty much all the guys above him. I don't know. I honestly don't have a definitive answer on Champ, but he's kind of always in play. Like, he should always be in play for you because of how prolific the DraftKings scorer he is. He could finish T26 and be like 5th in DraftKings scoring. So I wish he was like 7,800. Then I think I'd really get behind him. But he's definitely, he's cheaper than all those guys I just rallied on. So yeah, he's definitely going to be in play for me. I might talk myself into him by the end of the week for sure.
Did you notice, looking at the leaderboard at Quail Hollow last week, the similarities it shared with PGA National?
Not off the top of my head, but now that I think about it, you got Mitchell, Rory. Who else was up there?
Wise was up there. I think he was, what was he?
Wise?
He was in the mix at least at PGA National this time around. Rory has won at PGA National. Mitchell has won at PGA National in the past. I mean, it's very anecdotal. Luke List is someone who has finished second and lost in a playoff.
Well, it's funny you mention that because I know before the week I was looking a little bit at PGA National for that reason. So like I was kind of already thinking that way before the week, but I didn't really think about it at the end of the week. But yeah, now that we're talking about it, with Mitchell being up there, definitely.
Woodland is another one who's had success at PGA National in the past.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So maybe it's just tough courses. I don't know.
Maybe. Well, it's funny because when I do the breakdown of PGA National every year, the more I look at it, it's like, oh, it's a shorter course. But for whatever reason, that it does tend to benefit bombers over time, which I found really interesting. And even Justin Thomas, obviously, he's won at Quail Hollow. He's won at PGA National. He didn't have the greatest week last week, but he couldn't drain any putts. So, classic Justin Thomas. Classic Justin Thomas when he doesn't win events and can't get the putter going. I just thought that was something to look at moving forward. Like, even Fleetwood had a pretty good week, and he's someone who's played PGA National really well over time too. Keegan Bradley is another one who's been up there. I just want to put that in the back of my mind for next year looking at, because I'd always think like, oh, Riviera, Quail Hollow, that makes the most sense. But even like someone who's won both those events. So you have Riviera and Quail Hollow. JB Holmes has won both those events. But he was in the final group at the Honda Classic this year before he shot like 90 or whatever it was on Sunday.
It's a good point. I know when I was looking at it, there was a lot of correlation between those two. I think it's a good note too. Obviously, we think of Quail Hollow, Valspar and Riviera, the two most comparables, and this is good comparisons. But maybe it's just that again, all those courses are they're usually top 15 in terms of toughness. So I think it's just really looking maybe. In terms of, I know obviously you can go to like Fantasy National, you hit tougher courses or whatever, but you get a group of courses like that and guys just keep popping up. So I think those 3 courses you put together, if you're looking for like a tough course comparison, or if we get a new one pop up, maybe this course will play really tough. I don't think it will, but that's just like a threesome there where you can really kind of look at. So I definitely noticed that comparison like before the week, but like I said, I didn't really think about it at the end of the week, but with Mitchell popping up again and Rory winning, definitely some kind of correlation there.
What do you think the winning score is for this week? I'm going to guess like minus 24.
Oh, that low, hey? Yeah. I'm gonna say about minus 20. I think if the wind stays down, I agree. Like, you'll see the birdies fly. I don't think it'll quite get there. I think there's a lot of tough par 4s in there. I don't know how tough they're actually going to play, but the wind isn't supposed to be crazy. The greens. There is a lot of rain there early in the week, which is the one thing that could turn this into like you said, maybe it does get to minus 24, but I'm going to say minus 20. I think we see Scottsdale is a good comparison. That usually gets to 16, 17, but we got the extra par 5 in play here. So I'll say minus 20.
Well, there's the extra par 5. And I do think that like there are 2 short par 4s. And I think some of the longer hitters might take a go at the other one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I know this is going to play, but there's a creek running throughout the course. I'm not sure how much it's going to come into play on many holes, though. I don't think it's going to come into play on that many holes. There's not as much water here as at TPC Scottsdale either, which could really open things up for the players to maybe just bomb it. Like, it looks like there's a lot of open landing spots. So I think it's going to be more of a driver heavy course. And if the players just all of a sudden can just start firing it, like someone's probably going to go low. Again, you're going to have like wedges into every green. So is it going to play? I think a good comparison is it going to play more like Trinity Forest, where guys can just do whatever they want off the tee? Whoever heats up with the putter like Kang did in 2019, is going to win, or is it going to play a little bit more? You got to be more precise off the tee, like TPC Scottsdale, and the scoring will be a little bit more muted, but still you'll see a lot of birdies. So somewhere in between there. I'll go with -20 though, but if the conditions off the tee aren't too hard, then yeah, 24 will be in play.
7K range this week. I won't tell you who I'm playing as of yet, but I will tell you who the people are playing as of right now in terms of ownership. Gooch, Munoz, a lot of people playing my guy, the Gim Reaper. I've already bet him, and I'm most definitely playing him. So I have him projected at right around 20% right now. He might end up being the highest owned player on the slate. I'm going to put him in my PGA Tour video this week as well. I wrote him up in the column, so he's going to get some exposure. Maybe he can make a putt this week. That'd be nice. Come on, Gim. Figure it out on the greens, pal. Johnny Vegas coming in with a ton of ownership. Tom Hoagie, Tom Lewis, and Vince Whaley. He's becoming a guy that people are playing all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, you make 5 cuts, Pat, and you stay around 7K. You're going to get some looks here. I mean, Whaley he's doing well. He's not doing anything great, so you can use him as a cut maker. I'd much rather go to just some guy who's got more chance of popping, like Wyndham Clark we talked about. I'd probably even rather play Tom Lewis there. But Whaley, absolutely, you could think about. Like I say, he's not doing anything crazily well, so I'm not sure what the chances of him just going nuts are. But some interesting ownership projections early in the week. Vegas is really popping. It looks like people are really on him. He is striking it well, but I don't know how crazily I want to eat the Johnny Vegas chalk. That dude can go ice cold on and around the greens in a hurry. So Snedeker getting a lot of looks as well. And yeah, people love him some Doug Gim. Kind of interesting that maybe it's just like the Pat Mayo effect or something. I didn't think he was going to be like that popular, but I guess we got the Texas connection. He's coming in off a missed cut as well, but the ball striking is always there for Doug Gim. I like Doug Gim too. I'm a little shocked that he's this popular, but I guess you look at this range, people maybe just didn't want to pile on Brandt Snedeker. I think it's just the players around him are just so unappealing. I mean, Scott Stallings is 7,500 this week. Ben Martin is 7,400. Why? I mean, so I think Gim is just a product of he's in this range and he's like the only player that people really feel comfortable playing. So,
well, he's essentially transformed into the 2021 Luke List from 3 years ago, where you look at his stats and you're like, oh my God, or even Ben Ann at this point. Like, that's how badly he's putting right now. And even looking at his splits on Fantasy National, like, he has, and this is so limited, but he actually gains strokes putting on bent grass. I think he's played like 2 tournaments. I looked at his top 4 putting performances in his career. 3 of them have come on bent grass. Like, if the guy just made a few putts, he'd be in it every single week because the ball striking numbers are absolutely off the charts. I ran the modeling this week. He's 5th. He's behind Bryson, Berger, Rahm, and Brooks. That's why people are using him.
Yeah. And look, like I said, I mean, if Doug Gim loses like 5 more strokes putting for 1 more week, I mean, he's gonna make my team forever. These are guys I'd love to target as well. So I just look at it. He's really, really chalky. So I really want to get behind him. Maybe he's a guy I'll just throw some money down in the outright department too, just so I don't have to play him in DFS, I guess. But yeah, I don't really have anything bad to say about him other than everyone's probably going to play him because of who he's paired with. I don't even really have a good pivot play off him though either. I mean, I don't really want to play Brandt Snedeker over him. I mean, Snedeker's still just like popping with the putter. Who knows how long that's going to continue. So maybe Cambillo is a play. He's played a little bit better, but I mean, oh my God, like how long is that going to last? So Gim in this range really sticks out, and for good reasons. You just outlined them all. He's ball striking like a maniac. And when he does make putts, his birdie rate is insane. So I think it's probably chalk you just want to eat. Peter Uihlein up there is playing really good golf as well. One of my guys who I do collect and bet stupidly, but he is playing really good golf right now. I think the setup's good for him. Should be open. He's a guy tendency just to really spray it off the tee, but I don't think with not much water in play here, this could be a really good setup for him. I think he's played well in Texas as well. I think he was T5 at this event in 2019. I think I'm remembering that correct, but he's played really well. I wouldn't have a problem pivoting to Peter Uihlein there, but if you want to play 2 guys in this range, maybe you grab a low-owned play like an Uihlein and then pair him with Gim.
What do you do with someone like Antoine Rosner, who no one is playing, coming over the week before the PGA Championship? He's the number 70 ranked player in the world. He's won on the European Tour so far this year. John Catlin's down in this range too. Both guys coming over from the Euro Tour. Very little interest in either of them for like your average PGA Tour regulars, because it's really difficult to put a lot of stock into what Rosner has done so far this year. Like he won in Qatar, great against no one. He did beat Bryson in the match play. That was fun. He was the last man in the field after winning that event. Did he advance out of his stage? No, he didn't. He was second in his group. He ended up coming like T18 that week. But that was nice to see they actually played well in Texas, in Austin. I don't know how his game is going to translate whatsoever, but I think talent-wise, when we're looking at it, for a guy who's going to be legit like 2% owned, that you could do a whole lot worse considering you just said Ben Martin is like $7,400. What are we doing? Yeah. What did Raza make the pricing?
It kind of feels like it, doesn't it? Yeah, this pricing is ridiculous. I can't sit here and say like, oh, just cross Rosner off. I typically, when these Euros come over, I won't play them because the switch in terms of just setting and PGA setup is a little bit jarring. I feel like for these guys at the start, they need a little bit of time to adjust. But like to your point, Rosner has played in Texas before. He played the WGC match play. I think Catlin too. John Catlin, I mean, is 7,200. He's a lot cheaper. I mean, this dude's been I almost like Catlin a little bit better. He's been really consistent. He's shown some spurts in his career, like when he gets in this form where he'll go out and make cuts and be good. And I think he's even in a worse range just in terms of players available. So I think both these guys you could consider. If I was going to pick one to get behind, it would probably be the cheaper one in Catlin. But yeah, I can't really just say write them off this week because of how poor the ranges that they're in. But I'm not super interested in either, if I'm being honest. Catlin is a guy I might consider down there, but I still think I'd rather play Peter Uihlein than Rosner. I'd rather eat a little bit of Doug Gimchuk. I might even play Camilo, but again, there's still players out there. The PJ regs, I just feel like they have a bigger advantage because they see these kind of layouts all the time. So both guys playing well, but I typically, what I do with these Euros when they come over and play once, just cross them off.
I might end up using Rosner just because no one else will, and I enjoy his world ranking. Catlin has 3 Euro wins in the past year. The problem is when he doesn't win, he's really bad. He is American, though, despite playing on the European Tour, so I have no idea where he's from. Maybe I can figure that out at some point. I can use Google, I think. I can probably figure it out. I'll ask Siri. She'll know. Straka, Kazire, Gim, I'll be playing those 3 for sure. So those 3 are going to make my lineups. And I actually do think besides Clark, Lewis and Clark, there we go. They can venture all the way down to the bottom of the cup and make some birdies. But those 2 guys at $7,000 seem like a really good price to me.
Yeah, I do like both those guys too. Again, we're just talking about upside, right? I mean, obviously, a couple players coming in a little bit more consistent. Johnny Vegas is playing consistent, but Wyndham Clark, we know, is a player. I mean, he gets hot on the greens. His ball striking ticks up a little bit. He will definitely throw in a top 10. I don't even hate Patrick Rogers, who really started to click with the irons a little bit. I mean, Patrick Rogers shot 70 or better in 3 of 4 rounds last week. So I think he's another player you could throw in. I would put Clark and Lewis before him, but I think all 3 of those players I'm a little bit interested in for GPP purposes. Again, you're looking at construction, right? You're trying to bypass some of that overpriced chalk and the high 7K, low 8K range. You're going to have to pile on a couple of these guys in this range. So I think the upside there is decent. I think KH Lee is probably my favorite play, just if we're dipping down under 7K quickly. He's very much Doug Gim-like. I mean, if the dude just
No. Okay, let's not get into that territory right now. So you have a wildly inconsistent KH Lee the only thing they really have in common is that they both lose a ton of strokes putting all the time. Exactly. But when you look at Gim's approaches, he's gained in 10 consecutive events. He's gained 7 out of 10 off the tee. Like ball striking wise, he's one of the best players in this field. KH Lee, not.
Okay, well, KH Lee will bring it though. I mean, he's pretty consistent off the tee. He's okay. He doesn't gain as many strokes week in, week out as Doug Gim, but he can get fire with his irons as well. He can throw in like a +5. He's just been very consistent in everything but putting and still making cuts. So to your point, is he like the supreme ball striker that Doug Gim is? No, but I think he's more prone to having like a putting spike week because I mean, when was the last time Doug Gim even gained strokes putting? I don't know, but similar kind of play, I guess, that we're just waiting here for Cage Lee to gain strokes on the greens. And I'm probably just over buying into this TPC Scottsdale correlation, but that is where Cage Lee popped last, T2 there early in the year. So again, 6,900, I'm in on it. I like it. I think the putting eventually turns around for him. He's got to be getting some confidence from just making the weekends and putting like crap. So that's my theory there anyways.
The last time Doug Gim gained strokes putting was back on the West Coast swing. He didn't lose at Pebble. He gained at Riviera, and he gained at Torrey Pines on the green. So POA, not so bad. Basically, since they've gone to Bermuda grass, he's been awful on the greens, and he's really only missed 2 cuts over that time too. You don't see any of the high-end finishes because the guy is legit losing like 7.5 strokes putting some weeks. But he's still making all the cuts. He's still coming inside like the top 50 that have one of those weeks where you just gain 2 strokes putting. All of a sudden, you're looking pretty good.
He'll be looking really good in DraftKings too if he does that because he'll make a ton of birdies. So, like I said, definitely hate the fact that Doug Gim's going to be highly owned, but I can't sit here and say he probably shouldn't get a piece of him in some way because it's 7,500 for the DraftKings points that he'll produce for you if he even just like loses 0.5 strokes putting or something will be well worth it.
6K range we have. You mentioned Cage Lee, $6,900, but you also have like Roger Sloan, who rates out really well. Hank Lebioda is playing a lot better right now. He's also $6,900. I had a star next to Bryce Garnett. I'm going to unstar that, but Sam Ryder is right there. We liked him not too long ago because at his peak, he is an excellent ball striker who can't putt, although over the past 3 events, he's just not been doing anything of worth whatsoever. But he's one of those guys where you see these like top 10 performances from him. Then the next week he's going to shoot like 78 and come dead last in the field. So I probably won't get there with Sam Ryder, but I do think there's a cluster of guys at the very high sixes that are not. They're either equal or better than guys who are $700 more.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what this like whole event feels like, right? I mean, again, feels like we're taking another step down under 7K, but there are a few names here. I mean, I'm semi-interested in Ryder this week. I'm not going to lie. I mean, you hate to try. It's like catching a falling knife, with stocks, whatever you want to say, but like, is the bottom really in here? But this dude, like when Ryder gets it going, I mean, his ball striking is so good. He's very much like a far less inconsistent Doug Gim. I mean, I think 3 cuts in a row now missed. He's coming to a weaker field event. He could pop here. Again, I don't really have anything to suggest that this is going to be it, but 6,900, you look at the other players in this range. I like Sloan too, but I think Ryder's upside is a little bit better. So if you want to take on like the high end variants, I think Ryder is probably the play here. Sloan far more likely to just make the cut for you. He's playing well though. I mean, I don't dislike Roger Sloan in this range or anything. I'd certainly rather play him than anyone at 6,800. Really no one appealing there.
Oh, come on.
I don't even know if there's anyone.
And Herban Lahiri's there.
Oh, well, sorry.
It's out of all the Raza guys who got priced up, Lahiri's the one who didn't.
Yeah, Lahiri, I mean, super opportunity for Raza this week. I assume he's just going to have 100% Anerban. No, I'm not playing Anerban here.
I'm looking like Nasty Nate is down there. Lebioda is actually really good on these short par 4s. That's kind of his bread and butter. In the field over the past 36 rounds, Lebioda is 9th in par 4s that measure under 350 yards. And, he was a disaster with the putter last week after being really good at Valspar, but the ball striking all of a sudden was there. I really don't know what to do with him. He's always someone, maybe it's his name. I like the name Hank Lebioda, just this like little short lefty who can actually kind of get it out there at the same time. Pretty good off the tee. That, it's really hard to parse a lot of these guys down here because really what's the difference between 6,900 in the names next to them and 6,400 in the names next to them? Like I'm just scanning down the list here. Like I'm going to bet JB Holmes at 350 to 1. I am not going to make the mistake of playing him. He was another one, was awful on Thursday last week, played really well. No, really well is probably a stretch. I think he was 72 or 71 on Friday, but he's someone who's won in Texas before, plays these short par 4s really, really well. We know that he has adequate distance. You just never know what JB Holmes is going to show up. So you probably don't want him in your DraftKings lineup, but as an outright bet at that price point, I don't hate that all that much. And then I don't know. Scrolling down the list, Bo Hogg is kind of popping. Cameron Percy, Aussies in Texas. Is that a narrative we're going back to?
Maybe. I think I'd probably rather play the Bronson Borgoon and just play the Texan in Texas. But Bronson Borgoon at least shown a couple made cuts over the last few events. T13 at the Valspar. Cameron Percy seems like he's cooled off. Like he did have that really, really crazy run where he's just making cuts, actually getting himself in contention. But dude's like pushing 50. I tend to stay away from the guys who are almost on the senior tour, even Phil. So I think now that Percy's run is over, I'd rather try and look for a guy like Borgoon. I mean, my guy, Sean O'Hara, gained like a stroke on approaches last week. He's played well in Texas too. I think you could at least think about going to him. What about Glicklick? Michael Glicklick at 6,500. He's popped a little bit too. Canadian.
Yeah, he shows up every now and again, but it's not an alternate event, so that's going to be tough for him.
Fair enough. That's true. It's been mostly at alternate events. I mean, I think once you get down here, like the amateurs, like Cole Hammer, start to kind of get a lot more interesting because this field's under 68K is like, well, just under 69K, I guess.
How old is Cole Hammer?
I have no idea.
Because I feel like he played in like the U.S. Open 5 years ago. Maybe he was like 14 at the time.
He's definitely played in an event like a year or two ago. I mean, but I have actually no idea. I don't even know if he's still in university. I know he's been like a prolific. I think he's 22. I'm just trying now. It's like coming back to me, but I probably dead wrong on that.
Let's see.
We're giving out great info here, Pat.
I know. Cole Hammer leads United States to 7-5 win in the Walker Cup. So, or boo. Is that what I'm looking at here? That happened over the weekend. So that's good, I guess.
Oh, right. Yeah. The Walker Cup. That's right. Yeah.
But I mean, you can be any age and playing that. They have that like Stewart, the guy who plays in the Masters every year, the real tall guy with the long putter. I think he's like 50 and he plays in it. I'm trying to find Cole Hammer's age, and
he's 20 years old.
He's 20. Okay.
Oh no, that's not true. He was 20 years old in 2019. He's 22. I was right. He's 22.
How old is how much is Cole Hammer? He's 65. He's the same price as Kadira coming off a good week.
Yeah, Satoshi.
Should we play Sung Kang, who plays really well in Texas for whatever reason?
I mean, probably not, but you're right. Like he's the defending champ. He does play well. He tends to just pop. I mean, that's how bad this range is. So like, I think you can actually look at guys like that when you're making lineups. I mean, again, just it's very much similar story to Sam Ryder. You just want guys who can pop at the PGA level. And I mean, you look down here, there's just not there's like no. And Bull Hosler, I guess you could make the same case for. He had a good week at the Valspar 2 weeks ago, or at least a good finish, but was pretty terrible last week. I don't really know if I want to go there, but another Texas guy, right? So that's the kind of thing you're looking at here. I mean, I think it's almost that week where I'd almost rather just play. I don't want to know if it's the narratives or like the hometown, like the home state, like correlations with these guys than I would their recent form, because all these guys are terrible. So you might as well just play the guys who tend to have the biggest record of popping in Texas. That's kind of how, if you're going to dip in this range, I'd rather just play that narrative than look at anything else. Cause all these guys from a stat perspective have been pretty terrible. And I'm talking again, like 6,500 range.
Yeah. Like if you want to play bombers, Grayson Murray and Joseph Bramlett are both at $6,400. They both rate out pretty well when it comes to driving distance. Birdies are better made. Even Grayson and his proximity ranges are just great, but then you'll look up and he's +8. It's like, oh, what happened here? He 8-putted a hole. Fantastic news. I'll just bet him as first round leader will be on our way. The guy I might actually play has made 4 or 5 cuts. And I didn't realize that he was on the PGA Tour anymore, but now I do, is BVP, Bo Van Pelt, Jeff. I'm playing him.
I thought you were going to go to like JJ Spawn or something.
No, Spawn Ranch, you're out.
Oh, wow. Yeah, 4 made cuts in a row. Bo Van Pelt's super talented, dude.
He's 45. He's also 45 years old.
I was going to say he's also pushing 50. He's actually younger than I thought he was. So, this is the type of event. I mean, if you were dipping down in this range, this is what you're dealing with, right? So I don't even hate it. I think I'd rather play Bo Van Pelt than Sun Kang this week. So Again, I typically don't mind getting behind these guys. I was looking a little bit at Jimmy Walker as well in this range, another guy who plays well in Texas. He's made 4 or 5 cuts. Similar kind of story, been putting better, just awful off the tee. But I don't know if off the tee is going to affect him as much this week. So I think Walker and Bo Van Pelt down there, you could think about. I might lean Walker just because he's an actual PGA player. And I just can't even believe Bo Van Pelt is still on the PGA. But just scrolling through these names.
So here's who I have highlighted for
Kevin Tway.
Who?
Kevin Tway.
No,
Kevin Tway.
I don't think I heard pass on Kevin Tway. It's not Tway day anymore.
Made 2 or 3 cuts. He was 72 last.
Bo Van Pelt, $6,400. Cameron Percy, $6,600, and Andrew Putnam, $6,700. Just maybe he can putt his way into the cut.
You should have thrown another old guy in there. You could have got you should have thrown KJ Choi in there. You could have got like the touch of gray discount or something.
I haven't been out of my house in 11 days because I'm still stuck down here I have 3 days left. But man, I got the touch of gray going on right now. I haven't been able to cut my hair and cut all the gray out of it. You're going to see me like in 2 weeks. I'm going to look like Eric Bischoff. I'll go from jet black to pure gray all of a sudden.
Well, that's why I just shave my head all the time now, Pat.
Yeah,
I have no.
Yeah, I think that God shaves your head, Geoff.
It's true. I actually don't hate Kevin Tway and Jimmy Walker down here. I think I'd probably prefer Walker because he can get hot without putter. But it is a dicey range if you were diving down here. You were playing you're rolling the dice here of any of these guys. This field is so weird. There's such big drop offs at every range, and I play that Texas narrative. I'm just going to keep throwing that out there. I think a guy like Walker could pop here. Tway, I think Tway's from Oklahoma or something. But anyways, same deal.
I think that if you can just end your teams like last man in Wyndham Clark, I think you're doing pretty good.
I think most people are going to be trying to stay above 7K this week, which maybe gives you...
Yeah, but that's going to be super tough because that means you basically can only use one above 10K guy, and that probably doesn't mean you can use like Bryson and Zalatoris. That means you use like Berger, Scheffler, Charles, Gooch, Clark, and someone else. Like, that's not great.
And to that point, that's how I think most rosters are going to be looking. So again, you want really low ownership. And again, I like these big field events because we get like 5% or lower made cuts, like 6-6 percentages, which is fun. And again, I'm not suggesting you shouldn't play guys under 7K, because if everybody's just going to have trouble getting 6-6s through, why not really embrace the variance? I'm just saying, probably want to make some kind of like legitimate cutoff here. So there's definitely players in the 6K range. I think we've touched them, but I don't mind that kind of construction this week where you are dipping down there, because I think a lot, and I think majority of lineups are going to be started with like one guy in the 10K, one guy in the 9K, and then let's just try and stay above 7K. There's gonna be a really, really ridiculously low ownership on some of these guys under 7K.
I just used Fantasy National to sort by past 24 rounds. Easy courses par 72. And I sorted by strokes gained total. It gives me Rom Hideki, Doc Redman, who's $7,300. Sergio Knox.
So much money on Doc Redman.
Sergio, Knox, Brooks, Vegas, Palmer, the Gooch, Brian Stewart. Then your boy Bronson Burgoon is up there. The Goonies. Hey, you guys.
I legitimately don't mind Bronson Burgoon. Another Texas guy. Why is everybody from Texas under 7K this week? But just like he's made quite a few cuts. 7 of his last 9, it looks like. So played well at the Valspar. That is legitimately the guy to be targeting under 60, 68. Not with any like major conviction, but I think he's going to be a good cut maker. And it's so hard to predict what these guys under 7K are going to do.
Go to your boy Campos. Is this the Puerto Rico Open? Can we play Campos?
No, we're not in an island. There's no ocean around, is there? No, I'm not playing Campos.
All right. European Tour starts at 2 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesday morning. The British Betfair Masters. I made some bets for that. I basically just tailed Tom and Sky. The European Tour Picks and Bet Show is already up on Mayo Media Network, so go subscribe to Mayo Media Network so you get your notifications. That show is out already. If you want to go check it out, smash the like on that one as well. Here's what I got. You ready for this?
Yeah, hit it to me, dude.
I got Eddie Pepperell, 40-1. Guido with the each way, 70-1. Eduardo Molinari, 150-1. Xander Lombard, 150-1. And then someone named Maverick Antcliffe, 100-1 with an each way. I don't have a lot of stakes on these.
Maverick Antcliffe. Sounds like someone out of a Jane Austen novel or something.
Well, that sounds like the perfect candidate to win the British Masters.
That's true.
And then I played a double. So I played a 50-cent double between both. So I have Rom, Gim, Kazire, Zalatoris, Clark, and JB Holmes with Rasmus Hogard, Pepperell, Guido, Antcliffe, Lombard, and Eddie Molinari. And each way double 50 cents. It costs $36. I think if JB Holmes and Eduardo Molinari win, I think I win like $40K or something off 50 cents. So let's go.
Dude, if Eduardo Molinari pays off for you, you deserve it. So I'm looking at this field. I looked at it early in the week. I'm just taking another look. I mean, I think Schwab is kind of interesting there at 2,800. I mean, I would be fine going on that. He's like double Keimer. Keimer is 18-1. Good Lord. Even I won't bet that.
Schwab didn't get into the PGA Championship, which I thought was really strange.
Yeah, I know. He's like 101st in the world. That's no, a little bit weird, especially with a couple other dudes who did get in. Ricky Fowler. I'm just looking at this field. Yeah, I think Schwab is kind of interesting. I think that's a fair price for him. Connor Sim is another dude who I've kind of had my eye on. I obviously haven't bet this event, and I may throw down a couple of bets. I might actually bet Schwab now that I'm looking at this again. But I think the best advice I can give people, Pat, is probably tune into Skylar's show. Who's he with?
Skylar and Tom Jacobs.
Jacobs. Sorry.
I had to get a real British person on the European Tour show.
Right, that's right.
Just the voice adds so much to it.
You have to. That's how you get the SEO, right? And stuff like that. So yeah, that's probably my best advice. Those guys grind. Obviously, I know they're coming off a couple hot weeks, which is awesome. But I looking at this, Schwab is probably going to have some kind of exposure to me this week. And yeah, I don't mind Connor Syme there at 5,500 or 60-1 as well. Those would be the two guys. Actually, Guido at 80 if you can get him at 80. So there you go. There's my threesome right there. Boom.
It's the Play the Good Plays lineup time, Geoff. This is a new segment that I've introduced onto the show. So I've done it for 2 weeks now, and it's cash both weeks. So don't worry about ownership. Don't worry about anything like that. We're going to construct a lineup of 6 players that are just the good plays. How about that?
Let's go. I like this. I need more of this in my life. This is like training for me. This is good.
I know it's tough for me to wrap my mind around because I so want to play the bad plays all the time instead of just playing the good plays. So from the very top, if we're constructing a lineup and thinking about this, who is the good play from the top? Is it Spieth?
Okay, are we talking do you want above 10K?
We're filling out a lineup here. Like I have Gim penciled in at $7,500 already. So do we go like Spieth or Berger maybe?
I would probably be more apt to go either Zalatoris Berger or Scheffler Berger.
Let's go Berger Scheffler because that saves us some money. So Berger Scheffler Gim. That leads us with $7,600 per player left. So who else do we want from this like low sevens, mid sevens? Do you think that's a good play? Vegas.
Okay, so a good play. Oh my God. This is so hard for me. Okay, so we got Gim in there. I'm like scared to throw names. I would be considering what we have left. We could definitely go back to Johnny Vegas, I guess, and just is Wyndham Clark like a good play?
Well, looking at ownership, many people do not think that he is a good play. I personally think he's a great play, but that's me. And you know how wrong I am all the time. So that's never good news. Vegas and Hoagie and Tom Lewis and Vince Whaley are the ones garnering all the ownership from the low sevens.
I'm gonna I'm gonna say KH Lee is the good play at 6,900. I really am.
I'm gonna veto your KH Lee play.
Okay.
As a part, not that he is a bad play, but we're thinking about just randomly. And this field is a bit tougher to do this in. Who are the obvious good plays? I don't think that he's an obvious good play. Now, if Dominion wasn't doing the scoring for this tournament, Scott Piercy would win by a landslide. But obviously, everyone's out to get him. He actually wins, but that's just on the lowdown when it comes to Scott Piercy. Let's put in Tom Lewis. It seems like Tom Lewis is a good play.
Okay, I'm fine with Tom Lewis. I like Tom Lewis. So
that leaves us $8,000 for two more players. So we can play Gooch if we wanted to. People seem to agree that he's a good play this week. But then that would leave us with List or Schwartzel.
I mean, I think Gooch Schwartzel, if we're just going with who sentiment has and who are being perceived as the good plays, that's definitely one route we could take. Or is there any way
we could put Vegas? We could put Vegas in as well and get up to Siwoo.
I was about to suggest trying to get up to Ryan Palmer, but Siwoo is in the group of good plays in there, right, with Ryan Palmer. So if we went to Ryan Palmer, we'd probably have to go down to 6,800 or something, I assume. Hey.
Yeah, and then it's real dicey when you get down to $6,800 in terms of.
Yeah, I don't know if there's actually good plays down there, so that's probably not going to be on the table. I kind of like the Vegas Siwoo play.
We could drop from Berger to Zalatoris, and that could, I think, accomplish the same thing. Then you start your team Scheffler, Zalatoris, Palmer.
That's what I see. I think that's what a lot of people are going to do. And I think that's that would give us a good roster. I think, we wouldn't be doing anything silly. We'd be playing the good plays. Palmer, very consistent. Zalatoris, Berger, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, so the lineup, it leaves $100 on the table too. Zalatoris, Scheffler, Palmer, all in the 9Ks. Gim, Lewis, and Vegas at 75, 7,000, 7,200. That is the play the good plays lineup, and that's in the $15 contest right now. Don't copy it.
Okay. Are we sold on Lewis? That's the only guy. Is there anyone else there you would rather play?
I mean, I would rather play Wyndham Clark, but I think that people, by and large, are identifying Tom. It's not the point of who I think is the better play; it's who is kind of who is the consensus kind of best plays.
Is Whaley a more consensus best play, or is Tom Lewis actually?
I have Lewis as generating higher ownership right now. I don't know how that's going to end up turning out, but. I think just based on pedigree alone, you'd have to go with Tom Lewis, wouldn't you?
Let's go with Lewis. I don't even know why I'm trying to talk us out of Lewis. I like Tom Lewis, so let's go.
There we are. Those are the good plays. That's the good play lineup of the week. You can find my cheat sheet.
That was really hard.
Yeah, I know. It was much harder this week than it was 2 weeks ago at the Heritage. It was Webb Simpson, Corey Connors. It was really easy to find just down the line who all the guys were. Tell everyone what they can expect from you this week over at DK Live.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Got the PJ cheat sheet up for the week. Obviously, you can check out my Twitter at the Fantasy Grind, tweeting out all the good stuff. I did start a newsletter. I've only written one article. Eventually, one day, I will write more articles for it. But you can check that out on my link as well. But yeah, check out the DK Nation playbook. Go there. All the golf stuff is up there. Me at Reed Fowler is up there as well. So basically, just give me a follow at the Fantasy Grind. I'd appreciate it. And I'll put out golf content all week. Most of it's terrible, but I definitely appreciate you reading.
That'll do it for me. I'm Pat Mayo. You can follow me at the PME. Sub to my newsletter. Do it. It's completely free. I'll probably put out 2 this week. Then I'll have a bunch for the PGA Championship coming up as well. Some promos, some giveaways. If you're interested in something free money, probably something you want to get into. The Listeners League link is down there as well. Smash the like for the episode and join Fantasy National. FantasyNational.com/Mayo to get yourself 20% off. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!